The galaxy was used to many things: wars that lasted centuries, treaties that broke within a decade, and empires that rose only to collapse into dust. But on that quiet day, when the stars hummed with silence, something different happened. A signal appeared. It was first caught by a listening station at the edge of the Kelnari Republic. A board operator leaned back in his chair, sipping a bitter drink, when the static on his screen pulsed into rhythm. At first, he thought it was noise from a nearby pulsar. But then came the voice. Deep. Clear. Human. Harm our allies, and you face annihilation. The operator froze. The words repeated, steady, calm, and terrifying. Harm our allies, and you face annihilation. He slammed his hand on the alert rune. Moments later, the station filled with frantic voices. Scientists rushed in, translators checked the audio, and commanders argued over protocol. By the time the message cycled for the 20th time, the entire sector command was awake. Soon, it spread. Every listening post, every trade beacon, every military channel across the stars picked it up. The transmission was unstoppable, clean, precise, and carried on frequencies no jammer could block. No one could tell where it came from. Some swore it was Earth. Others whispered it came from every direction at once. The galaxy shivered. At the High Council of the Zorathai Dominion, the message was played again and again. The great chamber echoed with the words until the delegates could hear them even in their sleep. Ambassador Threx clawed at the table with frustration. This is human arrogance. They spread a warning to all of us, as if they are the masters of the stars. Another delegate, the frail Sarakai elder, shook her luminous head. Do not dismiss this lightly. Humanity has grown strong in silence. They are not like the others. Perhaps they mean what they say. Laughter erupted from the balcony, where young aristocrats of the Dominion gathered. Protect allies, one sneered. Who wastes fleets for weaklings? Empires expand, they do not guard. But not everyone laughed. In hidden chambers, intelligence officers whispered about Earth's weapons, about the colonies they had built, about the alliances they kept alive while other empires let theirs die. The signal ran for days, then weeks. Merchants on the trade routes joked about it. Soldiers in barracks repeated it like a song. Some empires mocked humanity's warning. Others grew uneasy. The Kelnari Republic dismissed it as human bravado. The Yavori hegemony called it an empty bluff. But on the fringes of the galaxy, near the borders of the small Vayari alliance, a weak cluster of worlds bound to Earth by old treaties, tension simmered. The Drakari Empire had long hungered for Vayari space. The humans had warned them before, but Earth was far, and the Vayari were weak. Now, with this strange broadcast echoing everywhere, the Drakari generals met in secret. Humans cannot guard every star, one growled. This message is nothing but a scare tactic. Let us take one system. If Earth does nothing, the galaxy will see their warning as a hollow threat. The vote was cast. The Drakari fleet moved. On the Vayari world of Choraz Prime, the sky filled with fire. Drakari warships emerged from the void, their hulls jagged and black, their weapons gleaming. The Vayari defense fleet was tiny, old, and outmatched. The first barrage shattered orbital stations. Flames licked across the capital city as civilians rushed into shelters. The governor's desperate message was sent across the stars. To Earth, our ally, our shield, Choraz Prime is under attack. We beg for help. The humans did not answer. Not yet. Instead, the broadcast continued, louder now, reaching every empire, every ship, every mind tuned to the galactic net. Harm our allies, and you face annihilation. The words shook even those who mocked them. They were no longer just a warning. They were a promise. In the core worlds, where the great powers ruled, the message dominated every council. Earth is bluffing, argued the Zayari warlords. If they had such power, they would have shown it already. The Sarakai elder whispered, perhaps restraint is their power. Merchants feared trade collapse. Soldiers feared unseen war. Diplomats feared being forced into alliances. Everywhere, questions spread. Would humans really destroy an empire to protect weak friends? Would they throw themselves into endless war for honor? No other empire in the galaxy had ever done such a thing. Betrayal was common. Allies were pawns. But humans spoke of allies as something sacred. It made no sense. It made them dangerous. As the Drakari fleet burned deeper into Vayari space, they laughed at the warning. "Where is Earth now?" their admiral mocked. "Do you see their fleets? Do you feel their wrath? Words are wind. And wind cannot stop plasma fire." The Vayari screamed for help. Their ships fought bravely but fell one after another. Cities were scorched. Millions feared the end. The galaxy watched in silence. This was the test. If Earth did nothing, their broadcast would mean nothing. The humans would become the joke of the stars. But if they did something, the empires held their breath. On the third day of the invasion, the broadcast changed. For the first time, the words shifted, sharper, colder. "This is the last message from Earth. Harm our allies, and you face annihilation. To the Drakari Empire, you have been warned." Every listening station froze. The message was no longer general. It was directed. Personal. The Drakari admiral sneered when he heard it. "Let them come. We will teach humans the cost of empty threats." His crew laughed with him. But some, deep inside, felt a chill. Far from Choraz Prime, at the edge of the system, something stirred. Ships without signatures, cloaked in silence, drifted closer. They did not announce themselves. They did not reply to hails. They simply moved. The Vayari survivors whispered, "The humans are here." The Drakari didn't believe it, until their sensors began to fail. Screens flickered. Coordinates scrambled. Ships reported phantom signals, massive fleets where none should exist. The Drakari admiral roared, "Tricks! They are using tricks!" But then, one of his ships simply vanished from the display. No explosion, no wreckage. Just gone. Panic spread. In every capital, every council chamber, the same question echoed, "What will Earth do?" The broadcast repeated again. Louder now. Unstoppable. "Harm our allies, and you face annihilation." It was no longer a warning. It was a countdown. The Drakari fleet pressed on, desperate to finish the conquest before Earth acted. But with every passing hour, their ships vanished, one here, two there, until whispers of terror spread among their own soldiers. No one could see the human fleet. No one could trace the attacks. But everyone felt it. The humans were no longer bluffing. They were hunting. And the galaxy, for the first time in centuries, felt true fear. Choraz Prime burned, but its people did not fall. They looked to the skies, where shadows moved, silent and patient. The Drakari admiral stared at his failing fleet and whispered words he had never spoken before. Perhaps the humans were serious. Across the galaxy, the message echoed one final time, colder than death itself. "Harm our allies, and you face annihilation." And with that, the galaxy knew, the signal from Earth was not a bluff. It was a promise. The galaxy had heard the warning. The words still rang in the minds of billions. "Harm our allies, and you face annihilation." But words were not enough for the rulers of the stars. They demanded proof. Empires did not change because of voices carried on the void. They changed only when they saw blood, fire, and destruction. And so, the Drakari Empire became the first to test humanity's promise. Choraz Prime smoldered. The Vayari cities lay in ruins, their fleets scattered. From orbit, the planet looked like a broken jewel, its surface cracked by plasma fire, its skies thick with ash. But amid the wreckage, the broadcast continued. Louder. Clearer. The human voice echoed across every frequency the Drakari used. "This is the last message from Earth. Harm our allies, and you face annihilation." The Drakari admiral, Valek, leaned forward on his command chair. His jagged armor gleamed red in the light of burning cities below. He sneered at the transmission. "Empty threats," he growled. "If the humans truly wished to act, they would already be here." His bridge officers murmured agreement, though their eyes betrayed unease. Ships had vanished in the dark. Sensors had failed without reason. But no one dared to voice doubt in front of their admiral. Outside, the stars seemed calm. Too calm. Across the galaxy, in the great chambers of power, alien leaders watched the events unfold. In the Serakai Spire, Elder Viala whispered to her council, "The humans are patient. They do not strike in haste. They wait until the moment is right." The Zayari warlords, fierce and proud, laughed instead. Earth plays games. Their weapons are shadows and illusions. The Drakari will crush the Vayari, and the humans will do nothing. Merchants placed bets. Armies whispered prayers. Civilizations held their breath. For this was no longer just a border war. This was the first test of Earth's warning. The Vayari screamed for help. Desperate messages were sent to Earth, begging for rescue. But humanity said nothing. Their fleets did not appear. Their leaders did not speak. For 3 days, silence. The Drakari celebrated. Their fleets spread across Choraz Prime's orbit. Their soldiers marched through ruined cities. The Empire's citizens cheered news of victory. Admiral Valek declared proudly, "The humans are cowards." Their message was a lie. "We have proven it." But deep in the void, beyond the reach of Drakari sensors, something stirred. It began small. One Drakari cruiser patrolling the edge of the system reported a strange fluctuation in its shields. Then, in less than a second, the ship was gone. No explosion. No debris. Just gone. The Drakari fleet assumed it was an accident. A reactor failure, perhaps. But when the second ship vanished, and then the third, panic began to creep into their voices. "Unknown attack," cried a captain. "We cannot detect the source." Admiral Valek snarled. "Find the enemy. They hide like cowards in the dark." But no enemy appeared. Only silence. And then, another ship vanished. Across the system, Drakari fleets were hunted. It was not like a normal battle. There were no exchanges of fire, no drawn-out duels in the void. Instead, ships simply disappeared, one by one, two by two, swallowed by shadows. Sensors showed nothing. Weapons fired at empty space. Crews screamed into comms that they were under attack, but by the time reinforcements arrived, there was nothing left but silence. The Drakari began to whisper of ghost fleets. Of human warships cloaked so perfectly that no eye, no machine, no mind could see them. And yet, the broadcast never stopped. "Harm our allies, and you face annihilation." The words became unbearable, ringing in their ears, following them even into their dreams. The galaxy watched in horror. Every transmission from Choraz Prime was broadcast across the stars. Everyone could see it, the destruction of a mighty fleet without a single human ship ever being revealed. "Impossible," whispered a Kalari scientist. "No technology can do this." "Perhaps," replied another, "the humans no longer need technology." Theories spread like wildfire. Some claimed Earth had built weapons that erased matter itself. Others swore humanity commanded living ships, beasts of war bred in secret. The most fearful whispered that humans had unlocked the power of the void itself. Whatever the truth, one fact was clear: the Drakari were losing. On the 7th day of the invasion, Admiral Valek's flagship stood alone. His fleet of over 200 warships had been reduced to 20. His generals begged him to retreat. "Admiral, we cannot fight shadows," cried one. "Every hour we lose more ships." But Valek's pride was greater than his fear. "We are Drakari. We do not run from ghosts. We will burn Choraz Prime to ash and prove humanity is nothing but lies." He ordered the bombardment. The skies over Choraz Prime lit with fire. Plasma struck the surface, tearing cities apart. The Vayari screamed as their world crumbled. And then, the humans answered. Without warning, every Drakari ship in orbit froze. Engines failed. Weapons powered down. Shields collapsed. Alarms blared. Officers shouted. Nothing worked. And then, across every channel, the human voice returned. "This is the last message from Earth. You were warned. You chose defiance. Now face the cost." A blinding white light filled the system. When it faded, every Drakari ship above Choraz Prime was gone. Not destroyed. Not shattered. Simply erased from existence. The Vayari stood in awe. Their enemies were gone, and above their world hung only silence. The news spread faster than light. Across the stars, empires trembled. The Zayari warlords who had mocked humanity fell silent. The Serakai elders whispered prayers to their ancestors. The Kelnari Republic shut down entire fleets, fearing they too would vanish if they tested Earth. For the first time in galactic memory, every empire agreed on one thing: humanity's warning was real. Harm our allies, and you face annihilation. Admiral Valek survived. His flagship had been spared, left drifting at the edge of the system. His crew trembled as they realized why. The humans had chosen to let him live. A final transmission burned into his mind. Return to your empire. Speak of what you have seen. Let the galaxy remember. The last message from Earth is not a threat. It is a promise. Shaking, broken, humiliated, Valek fled into the void. Choraz Prime began to rebuild. The Vayari wept, not only for their dead, but for the miracle of survival. Above their world, invisible fleets remained, watching, protecting. Across the galaxy, fear turned to silence. No one dared move against Earth's allies now. But in the darkness, new questions arose. If this is only the beginning of humanity's power, what else are they capable of? The galaxy had tested Earth's warning. And Earth had answered with annihilation. The galaxy was not silent anymore. Everywhere, on trade routes, in council chambers, on military ships, the same words echoed like a curse. Harm our allies, and you face annihilation. What happened at Choraz Prime was no longer rumor. It was fact. A mighty empire had tested humanity's warning, and in less than a week, its fleet had been erased. The Vayari still lived. The Drakari were broken. And the galaxy trembled. In the great halls of power, fear spread like wildfire. At the Kalari Republic, senators argued day and night. The chamber echoed with panicked voices. They erased the Drakari fleets without a trace, shouted one senator. If they can do that, what stops them from turning on us next? Another answered in a low, fearful tone. They do not want conquest. They want loyalty. They want us to protect their allies, or at least, not harm them. It is a shield, not a blade. But that only frightened the chamber more. To many, the idea of humans fighting for others made them dangerous beyond reason. No empire in the galaxy had ever done such a thing. Empires fought for territory, for resources, for power. But humans fought for loyalty, for friends. That made them unpredictable. That made them terrifying. Elder Viala, ancient and luminous, sat before her council. Her voice was soft, but every word cut like glass. The humans did not destroy the Drakari for conquest. They destroyed them for loyalty. Do you understand what this means? Her council shifted uneasily. One asked, that they will not strike unless provoked. No, the elder whispered. It means that if we ever make their friends into enemies, then we too will face annihilation. Their allies are untouchable. Their enemies, unforgivable. The Serakai bowed their heads. For the first time in centuries, they prayed. On the trade lanes, the story of Choraz Prime spread faster than cargo ships. Merchants spoke of it in hushed voices. They say the humans have ghost fleets, one whispered. No, said another. They have weapons that erase matter itself. You're both wrong, a third muttered. I heard they control the void. They call it the silence. It devours ships whole. No one knew the truth. But every trader agreed on one thing: human allies were now the safest trade partners in the galaxy. To attack one was suicide. Back in the Drakari Empire, the humiliation was unbearable. Admiral Valek's broken fleet returned to the homeworld. His people expected victory parades, but instead, they saw burned wrecks limping back from battle. They heard his voice, trembling, as he told the truth. The humans erased us. I saw it with my own eyes. We could do nothing. Many called him a coward. Others called him cursed. But whispers spread through the empire. Perhaps he told the truth. Perhaps humanity really cannot be fought. The Drakari Council met in secrecy. Some demanded vengeance. Others urged caution. But all of them knew one thing: their empire would never be feared again. Humanity had destroyed more than their fleet. They had destroyed their reputation. And what of Earth? Strangely, humanity said nothing. After the destruction of the Drakari fleet, the broadcast continued as before, calm and steady. Harm our allies, and you face annihilation. No boasting. No demands. No expansion. The humans returned to silence. This unsettled the galaxy even more. Conquerors bragged of their victories. Tyrants paraded their weapons. But humanity erased a fleet, and then went quiet. That quiet was worse than threats. It left everyone wondering, what else can they do? What are they planning next? In the Kelnari Republic, scientists worked day and night to analyze the destruction. They studied every scrap of data, every sensor log from the Drakari War. One scientist whispered, "There is no weapon signature. No energy trails. It is as if the ships simply ceased to exist." Another replied, "That is impossible. Nothing disappears without trace." The first leaned closer. Unless the humans have gone beyond our science. Unless they have built something that doesn't kill, but erases. The council shuddered. If true, humanity's weapons were not weapons of war. They were weapons of finality. Not all were cowed. In the darkness, some empires saw opportunity. "If the galaxy fears humanity, then we must test their limits," whispered a Zayari warlord. "They cannot be everywhere at once. Their allies are many. Somewhere, they must fail." Others agreed. Quietly, secret alliances formed. Plans were whispered of striking not humanity directly, but testing them again, attacking allies to see how far Earth's protection stretched. But such whispers were dangerous. Already, rumors spread of spies vanishing, of fleets going missing in deep space. Some claimed the humans were listening, watching, waiting. Meanwhile, the Vayari alliance, the weakest of Earth's allies, rose from ashes. Choraz Prime rebuilt its cities. Survivors whispered thanks to the skies. Children grew up reciting the words of the broadcast like a prayer. Harm our allies, and you face annihilation. To them, it was not a warning. It was a promise of safety. A covenant with Earth. The Vayari became more than survivors. They became symbols. To every small race across the galaxy, they proved that standing beside humanity meant life. And to the great empires, they proved that even the weakest allies were untouchable. Weeks passed, and still the broadcast continued. It never changed, never weakened, never stopped. It echoed in every station, every council chamber, every ship. At first, some tried to jam it. They failed. Some tried to trace it. They found nothing. The signal was everywhere and nowhere. The more the galaxy heard it, the more it became something greater than a message. It became legend. It became myth. Children in distant colonies whispered it at night. Soldiers painted it on their armor. Merchants etched it onto their ships. And empires dreamed of it in terror. In desperation, the galaxy called a grand council. Never before had so many empires gathered in one place. Hundreds of species filled the vast hall. The air was thick with fear. The Serakai elder rose. Her voice was calm. "We must decide. Do we bow to humanity's warning, or do we test them again?" Arguments erupted. Some demanded peace, fearing annihilation. Others demanded defiance, believing humans could not protect all allies forever. But as they argued, the broadcast filled the chamber itself. Harm our allies, and you face annihilation. The voices fell silent. No one knew if the humans had meant to reach them, or if the message had always been listening. Fear spread like a plague. Some called it respect. Others called it terror. But all knew the truth: the galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had spoken once. They had acted once. And now, the galaxy lived in the shadow of their warning. The words echoed still. "This is the last message from Earth. Harm our allies, and you face annihilation." And the galaxy asked itself, who will dare test humanity again? The galaxy begins whispering about ships that appear without being seen, weapons that kill without a sound, and messages that arrive before the sender even speaks. The broadcast from Earth was no bluff, it was only the surface of something deeper, darker, and older. Rumors spread: Earth has hidden fleets, secret stations, and technology no one dares to name. Empires grow nervous. Some claim to have seen ghost warships, massive human titans drifting at the edge of star systems, silent but watching. No one can confirm if they are real, until one makes its move. The galaxy had grown loud with panic. Everywhere, markets, war councils, even quiet colonies, people spoke of only one thing, the last message from Earth. It echoed still, bouncing across comm channels, star relays, and black markets. Harm our allies, and you face annihilation. But what did it mean? Was it only words? Or had the humans prepared something too terrible to imagine? The Fourth Dominion scoffed at the rumors. Its warlord, Krex Varuan, called the message nothing more than Deathworld arrogance. Humans are loud, yes, he told his generals, but their strength is limited. They cannot defend all who call them friend. We will expose their bluff. And so, the Dominion began to move. But then, strange reports arrived. A mining convoy in neutral space disappeared. No wreckage. No distress signal. Only silence. The convoy had been under Dominion escort. Their ships were armed. They had defenses. But they were gone, as if erased from the galaxy. Some said they saw shadows in the void, ships of impossible size, yet moving with perfect silence. Others whispered of weapons that left no trace. For weeks, more vanishings followed. A fleet on patrol. A fortress station in orbit. Even a Dominion governor's own flagship. Every time, there was no proof. No evidence. No survivors. Only silence. And then, the message would repeat. Clear. Sharp. Harm our allies, and you face annihilation. In the great council chambers of the Union of Worlds, fear spread like wildfire. Delegates whispered to each other. Are these stories true? Does Earth hide weapons beyond our understanding? Perhaps the old myths, perhaps they are not myths at all. The chairwoman of the Union stood, trying to calm the room. But her voice shook as she said, Humanity's warning may not be a bluff. The shadows we hear about, the disappearances, they could mean Earth is preparing for something greater. Something none of us can resist. Meanwhile, on a quiet listening post at the edge of Dominion space, a young technician named Reel stared at her screen. She had detected something. At first it looked like static. But then, the static moved. A shape. A form. A ship. She blinked. Adjusted the lens. And her blood turned cold. It was massive. A human warship, larger than any vessel she had ever seen. But it was wrong. It shimmered, half hidden, as if reality itself refused to show its true form. It hovered for only moments, then faded, vanishing into the void. Her commander told her to erase the record. Hallucination, he spat. Do not speak of this again. But she couldn't forget. The warship had not fired. It had not spoken. It had only watched. The Dominion's warlord grew frustrated. His fleets were disappearing, and no enemy left evidence. He ordered a strike against one of Earth's allies directly, to force humanity's hand. His target, the small planet of Orithis, a world rich with ore and aligned with Earth. He sent 3 fleets. Thousands of ships. Enough firepower to burn a planet into ash. They approached Orithis, shields bright, weapons ready. The people of Orithis panicked, sending desperate calls to Earth, begging for help. The Dominion laughed. Let us see if humanity answers. But Earth did not send a fleet. Earth did not send soldiers. Instead, the stars went dark. The Dominion's fleets began to lose power. Their reactors sputtered. Their engines died. One by one, ships drifted helpless in space. Then, silence filled the comms. The Arathians watched from the surface, terrified. Above their skies, the Dominion's fleets hung like dead insects. And then they appeared. Not ships. Not fleets. Shadows. Giants. Machines too vast to be real. Some said they looked like titans from forgotten myths. Others said they looked like living darkness. The Dominion's fleets never fired a shot. They were swallowed whole, vanishing into the dark with no sound, no light, no trace. Orithis was saved. And the message repeated, louder than ever. Harm our allies, and you face annihilation. Whispers spread faster than fire across the galaxy. Earth had powers unseen. weapons that made fleets vanish, warships that existed only as shadows. The galaxy trembled, realizing something: humanity had not bluffed. Humanity had not even revealed its full strength. The broadcast was not only a warning. It was a promise. And the promise was being kept. The galaxy holds its breath. A minor alien empire, desperate to prove humanity's warning false, dares to strike again. A human ally's world burns, its people screaming across the void for help. Everyone wonders, will Earth respond, or was the broadcast just empty bravado? Then, without warning, humanity's retaliation begins. What follows is not war, it is execution. The galaxy had been waiting for weeks. After the human broadcast, "Harm our allies and you face annihilation," the stars were silent. No empire dared to test the claim. Even the boldest warlords hesitated, weighing the risk. But silence never lasts forever. Someone, eventually, always steps forward. That someone was the Veyrak Dominion. The Veyrak were not the largest empire, nor the strongest. But they were proud, arrogant, and desperate. Their empire had been shrinking for decades, losing battles and colonies to stronger neighbors. The human warning, to them, was an opportunity. If they could prove Earth's words false, they would rise again. They would show the galaxy that humans were bluffing. And so, the Veyrak made their move. They struck at Threxos, a small reptilian species allied with Earth. Threxos was weak, its fleets outdated, its defenses fragile. Easy prey. The Veyrak burned 3 of their colonies in a single week. Entire cities turned to ash. Millions cried out for help, their distress calls echoing across the stars. The galaxy leaned forward, watching. Would Earth come? Would the humans actually fight for such a small, irrelevant species? At first, there was nothing. No fleets. No soldiers. No sign of Earth. The Veyrak celebrated. Their rulers boasted across the Comnet. Humans talk, but they do not act. They are weak. Their words are hollow. Many empires nodded in agreement. Perhaps humanity was bluffing. Perhaps they were just like every other empire, willing to abandon allies when it became inconvenient. But then, the broadcast returned. Every world, every station, every ship across the galaxy received it. The same words, but this time, colder. Stronger. A voice like steel. This is Earth. You were warned. Harm our allies, and you face annihilation. The Veyrak Dominion has chosen to test us. They will now learn. The transmission ended. Nothing more. No explanation. No demands. Just a promise. The galaxy froze. And then, the retaliation began. It started in silence. The Veyrak border stations lost contact one by one. No alarms. No distress calls. Just sudden, eerie silence. Their neighbors thought it was a glitch. But then, a scout ship sent to investigate found only wreckage, stations ripped apart, defenses burned to slag. A day later, the first human fleet arrived at Veyrak Prime, the Dominion's capital world. The Veyrak had prepared. They had gathered every warship, every defense platform, every missile battery. Hundreds of ships formed a wall around their homeworld. Their admirals laughed, confident in their numbers. But then they saw it. One human warship. Only one. It slid into orbit, massive and silent, like a blade in the dark. The Veyrak fleet immediately opened fire. Missiles, plasma, kinetic rounds, all of it screamed toward the lone human vessel. The galaxy tuned in, watching the battle feed. And then they saw why humanity had spoken with such certainty. The first wave of Veyrak fire struck the human warship. Nothing happened. The rounds vanished against its shields as though they had hit empty space. The Veyrak fired again. And again. Their weapons burned bright, lighting up the void. Still nothing. The human ship did not move. Did not dodge. Did not return fire. It simply endured, waiting. Finally, its voice came across the Comnet. You were warned. Then, with a single shot, the human warship destroyed the largest Veyrak battleship. Not crippled, not damaged, destroyed. The ship's core detonated, and the wreckage scattered into space. The Veyrak panicked. Their admirals screamed orders. Entire wings of ships rushed forward. But the human vessel moved like a predator, swift and surgical. Every shot it fired claimed another warship. Every maneuver placed it exactly where the enemy was weakest. Within minutes, the proud Veyrak fleet was broken. The galaxy watched in horror. This was not war. This was slaughter. The Veyrak begged for mercy. Their leaders transmitted desperate messages, offering surrender, tribute, anything to be spared. But the human ship did not respond. It targeted the orbital stations, the defense platforms, the missile silos. One by one, they fell in flames. Finally, the human commander spoke. This is not conquest. This is not war. This is justice. You were warned. You harmed our allies. Now you will face oblivion. Then the bombardment began. The human warship unleashed fire upon the planet below. Precision strikes ripped apart military bases, weapons factories, and command centers. The ground burned. Skies turned black. But humanity did not stop there. Civilian cities were spared, but every symbol of Veyrak power was erased. The government palace, gone. The war foundries, gone. The military academies, gone. By the time the bombardment ended, the Veyrak dominion was broken. Its fleets destroyed, its armies shattered, its rulers dead. The proud empire that had once mocked humanity was now on its knees. The galaxy received one final broadcast. The same human voice, calm and steady. This was your first lesson. Do not harm our allies. Do not test our words. This is the last warning you will ever receive. Then the transmission ended. Across the stars, silence followed. No empire laughed now. No one doubted the humans. The Veyrak had been erased in a single strike. And the galaxy finally understood, Earth's promise was not a bluff. It was truth. But deep within the void, whispers began. If humanity could destroy an empire so easily, what else were they hiding? Was this just the beginning? And what would happen when the next empire was foolish enough to test them? The galaxy trembled. And waited. The galaxy had seen human power before. But no one had ever seen this. The fleets that moved now were not patrol ships, not warnings, not scouts. They were war machines forged for one purpose, to punish. The repeating broadcast thundered again across the stars. We gave our warning. You ignored it. Now you face obliteration. Alien leaders froze. Some prayed. Some prepared to fight. And some finally understood, the humans had not been bluffing. The human armadas emerged like storms. Warp signatures rippled across a dozen sectors at once. No empire had ever deployed fleets so quickly. It was as if humanity had been waiting, coiled, ready for the first strike against their allies. The Drazel Empire, proud and merciless, had been the first to test Earth's promise. They had expected hesitation, negotiation, perhaps diplomacy. Instead, they found themselves staring at the shadow of human wrath. The first battles came fast. Human dreadnoughts fell upon Drazel border fleets like predators among prey. Entire cruisers were gutted in seconds. Shields failed under weapons no one had ever catalogued before. Some ships seemed to vanish, their atoms scattered into nothingness. On alien broadcast channels, the footage spread. Soldiers screamed, begging for orders. Civilians wept as entire planets went dark. Human commanders spoke few words. You were warned. This is justice. In the great council halls of the galaxy, chaos erupted. Some empires demanded immediate surrender to humanity. Others cried out for unity, for resistance, for revenge. But no one could agree. The fear was too strong. The allies of Earth watched in silence. These were small civilizations, once weak and overlooked, who now stood under a shield no empire dared touch. They realized something terrifying yet beautiful. Humanity would bleed for them, but humanity would also destroy for them. On the third day of war, the Drazel High Fleet made its desperate stand. 1,000 warships, engines burning, cannons blazing. They hurled themselves at the largest human armada. The humans did not retreat. They did not even slow. The clash shook the sector. Energy bursts brighter than suns tore across space. Hulls shattered. Whole moons cracked under the violence. But by the end, the Drazel flagship lay silent, burning, while the human fleet pressed forward untouched. The galaxy had witnessed its first lesson: to harm Earth's allies was to invite extinction. Whispers spread. Could anyone stop them? Are the humans truly this powerful? Or have they been hiding their strength all along? The broadcast thundered again, shaking every listening post, every ship, every council chamber. We protect our own. And those who call us friends. Betray them, and you will not survive. The warning was over. Now came the wrath. The galaxy was no longer the same. Trade routes stood empty. Borders once crowded with patrols were now silent. Civilizations that had boasted of their fleets now whispered only of fear. Because everywhere, in every shadow, there was the same question. Who will be next? The Drazel Empire, once proud, once feared, was gone. Entire star systems reduced to ruins. Their homeworld burned, not by orbital bombardment, but by something worse: silence. Human ships had cut their communication networks, shut their supply lines, and erased their fleets in days. The Drazel no longer existed as an empire. They were dust. Now, all eyes turned toward humanity. Were they conquerors? Protectors? Monsters? Or saviors? No one could agree. But everyone trembled. In the council chambers of the Valen, the debate raged. They are too dangerous, one shouted. They protect their allies, another countered. But at what cost? They erased an empire. They warned them first. You all heard the message. The truth was undeniable: humanity had not struck first. They had only answered betrayal. Yet their answer was so absolute, so final, that the galaxy no longer doubted their resolve. The small civilizations, those who had once lived in constant fear, now saw human fleets guarding their worlds. Where once predators lurked, now there was security. They looked upon Earth not with terror, but with something rare: hope. But hope for some was terror for others. The great empires, those who had thrived on domination, now faced their worst nightmare. Their fleets, their power, their very reputations were worthless against humanity. And worse, their own soldiers had seen the recordings. Morale was collapsing. Whispers filled the barracks. If they come for us, what chance do we have? We couldn't even stop their scouts. Maybe it's better to surrender. Fear spread faster than war. Empires that had never bent the knee to anyone now considered treaties, peace offers, even tribute to Earth. On the borders of human space, fleets grew larger every day. Thousands of warships stood ready, engines burning, weapons locked. The galaxy had never seen such a sight. And still, humanity broadcast their warning. Leave our allies untouched. Harm them, and face extinction. No one dared test the warning again. But still, suspicion gnawed. Was this truly defense? Or was it the beginning of something greater, human dominance across the stars? In hidden corners of the galaxy, secret meetings began. Rival empires, once enemies, now gathered in silence. They spoke of a single goal: survival. If we wait, humanity will only grow stronger. They have already shown us their weapons. Imagine what they hide. We must act before it's too late. But even as they plotted, doubt remained. None dared attack first. Because every leader remembered the Drazel. And so, the galaxy trembled. Not just from human war fleets, but from uncertainty. From the knowledge that one species now stood above all others. Some prayed humanity would remain guardians. Others feared they would become conquerors. But none could deny it anymore. The balance of power was broken. Humanity held the galaxy in their hands. The galaxy held its breath. For months, every star system waited in silence. No empire dared move against humanity. No warlord dared threaten their allies. Fear had spread too deep, too fast. But fear was not the end. Humanity had not come this far to rule through terror. No, what came next would decide the fate of the galaxy. Because on this day, the humans prepared a message. Not to one empire. Not to one council. But to every world, every race, every star. In orbit above Earth, the Titan-class warship Aegis powered its deep-range transmitters. Billions of signals pulsed outward, faster than light, bouncing across relay stations until every corner of the galaxy was reached. Every species, whether friend, foe, or neutral, saw the same thing. A human appeared, standing in silence. Behind them glowed the image of Earth. The figure spoke slowly, clearly. "This is our final message." The words echoed across 1,000 languages, translated instantly by the broadcast AI. "We did not seek war. We did not seek conquest. But we will never allow betrayal against us, or those under our protection. You all saw what became of the Drazzle. Let that be the last lesson needed." Across the galaxy, billions leaned closer to their screens. Soldiers, farmers, kings, merchants, even the most powerful rulers sat in silence. The human continued. "From this day forward, understand this. Those who raise their fleets against the weak, those who enslave, conquer, and destroy, will face us. We will not conquer your worlds. We will not demand your tribute. But if you bring war to us or our allies, you will be erased. Entirely." The words were not shouted. They were calm, steady, like stone. And perhaps that was what made them more terrifying. On the Valen homeworld, leaders exchanged uneasy glances. "They mean it," one whispered. "Of course they do," another replied. "We all saw what they can do." But among the smaller civilizations, the ones who had lived for centuries under fear of predators, tears filled their eyes. For the first time in living memory, they believed in something greater than survival. They believed in safety. The message continued. "Some of you will fear us. Some of you already plot against us. That is your choice. But understand this truth. We are not leaving. We are not hiding. Humanity is here to stay." And then, the final line. "The galaxy has trembled long enough. Now it will change. With us, or against us. The choice is yours." The broadcast ended. The stars fell silent again. But the silence was different this time. Not the silence of fear, but the silence of a galaxy rewritten. The great empires, the predators of old, now lived in hesitation, no longer untouchable. The weak races, the forgotten, the prey, now lived under a new shield, one forged not of walls, but of human promise. And Earth. Earth had done the unthinkable. They had not just survived the galaxy. They had reshaped it. From that day, history remembered one truth. When the galaxy found humanity, it trembled. When humanity rose, it listened. And when humanity spoke its final message, the stars themselves obeyed.